Hi, I'm Blue. You may have heard of me. Recently, I've become somewhat of a star. They call me the 1 Million Mile Porsche. But honestly, I'm not that special. Sure, 1 million miles is something, but I've only been doing what I love to do. And besides, what does an old jalopy know? Anyway, at the end of the day, I'm not here to moan, but to tell you my story. It started almost 50 years ago in a land far away, Germany. I was young, sporty, and wanted to see more than just the same old autobahns. Fortunately, around this time, I met an American traveling salesman, Mr. Smith or Smits. You'll have to excuse me, please. My memory isn't what it used to be. He asked me if I wanted to come with him to America. America. Just the sound of that word makes my 1.6-liter Boxer engine rev faster. So I said yes, turned my back on the peaceful suburb of Zuffenhausen, and headed off full of excitement to a new world. I can tell you, my dear friends, a journey like this doesn't pass uneventfully. When an unforgiving wind roars over the deck, whipping the sea into towering peaks, the only thing to see far and wide is seething white foam, then you need more than just a body of steel. You need nerves of steel as well. For days, we huddled close together below deck. We listened anxiously to the roaring storm that raged outside. I thought that I would actually end up as a coral reef before I had my first 1,000 miles on the odometer. But as you can hear and see, I survived. Just as suddenly as it had started, the storm abated. And at last, on a misty Thursday morning after a long journey, we arrived at our destination, America. Finally, I had my tires on solid ground again. I had arrived. Everything around me was bigger than what I was used to. The streets went on forever, and the buildings, gigantic buildings. Even the cars were huge. Everything was different. And I, at least from the American point of view, was seen as rather exotic. But Americans are very friendly and open, and very quickly, I made new friends. A man named Warren Newmark, who earned his living as a yacht broker, invited me to his home. At the time, he lived with his wife and his son Guy in sunny California. The boy and I got along right from the get-go. After school, he often visited me in my small, modest accommodation, an outbuilding in which the Newmarks let me live for free. I think they call it garage or something like that. Anyway, Guy graduated from college in the summer of 1968. By now, we had become virtually inseparable, and we were constantly on the move, always ready for a new adventure. There's no hiding the fact that I'm not as young and sprightly as I used to be. But you don't have to take pity on me. I'm still in good shape. You know what they say about men and aging. Guy and I are still able to make a good impression on the ladies. And most of the ladies still believe that I don't notice when they take a quick glance at my rear end. Luckily, Guy and I don't have to worry about our good looks. We inherited them at birth. But one day, in the mid-90s, I realized that I was no longer a spring chicken. At that time, I had already clocked 881,000 miles. Guy and I were cruising along the Interstate 110 when I suddenly felt a stabbing pain throughout my whole body. Guy also noticed that something wasn't right. And then, suddenly, nothing. Blue? Is everything okay? The next thing I remember seeing was Fred Bush's friendly face. Hey, Blue, you gave us a bit of a shock. It's good that you're back on your tires again. Oh, excuse me, I nearly forgot that you have no idea who Fred Bush is. Fred is my doctor, and just like me, he emigrated from Germany a long time ago. Guy always says, Blue, you're a German car, built by German engineers. And if I'm going to let any person work on E, then they damn well better understand German engineering. Well, that person is Fred. Slowly, I came to realize where I was. With Fred. When I started to move, he told me, "Slow down, Blue. You just had a crankshaft transplant." A bit later, Guy appeared. It's difficult to describe how excited he was. I can only remember one other time when he was so pleased to see me. And that was after a little adventure I had without him. It all began after a photo shoot in my official residence with my roommate, Red. She's also a Porsche, but not quite as well traveled as me. She's a recent addition to the family, even though she was built in 1962. We're just friends, by the way. While the pictures were being taken, we had the doors open for a couple of hours. And I think that during this time I was spotted. Hey, I might be old, but I can still strike a pose. Anyway, the next evening I was just about to fall asleep when suddenly I heard the sound of the door opening. I thought, this is a strange time for a trip. And then it got weird. No one turned the lights on. Suddenly, someone yanked open my door and released my handbrake. One person was pushing me downhill, and the other was trying to jumpstart my engine. They tried and tried. After a while, they realized that I wasn't responding because I played dead. Then, they started to cut my wires. I think they'd seen too many movies. Eventually, they gave up and just left me there. Although I wasn't really lost, I was only 6 blocks away from home. I was feeling a bit lonely, so I just stood there for 4 days with only the local cat for company. All he did was curl up on my trunk. Then, just as I was beginning to think that I was going to spend the rest of my days as a cat's scratching post, a rather attractive young lady came and took down my details. The next thing that happened was me being surrounded by 4 police cars, and I was giggling because someone was taking fingerprints from my bodywork. Then Guy turns up in red, wearing just his underpants. I later learned that I had been officially stolen, but I like to think of it as a kidnapping gone wrong. I may make light of it, but if I hadn't been found, I wouldn't be standing here now. And Guy and I probably wouldn't have been able to realize our dream of returning home to Germany to clock our 1 millionth mile on the Nordschleife of the Nürburgring. Later, Guy did tell me why he was only wearing his underpants, but that's a story for another time. Maybe I'll tell it after the next 1 million miles.